Welcome back to the pantry. This is one of my favorite videos to do each year because I get to spend several days down here working through my pantry, looking at what I've been using, what I haven't been using, where I've done a good job of maintaining my supply and using what I have, and where I've not done such a great job. And there are a few of those this year. We're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about sort of my MVPs this year, and we're going to talk about some of the newer additions and things I always seem to be running out of. So I thought that would be our focus. I hope that's good with you. Welcome to Garb Reserve. I'm Carter, and I'm so glad you're here today. So one of the first things I want to talk about is this shelf right here. This is jams, jellies, chutneys, all the really yummy stuff that I love so much, and the things I really enjoy canning because they're quick, they're simple, it's instant gratification. You know, they can be really beautiful. However, if you've been here at all, you know that since last December 1st, so December 1st of 2023, I've been pretty hardcore keto. Now I'm loosening up a bit, more low carb than keto now, but that really left this shelf kind of out of my meal planning altogether. So even though I do can without sugar, the fruit still has plenty of carbs in it, more carbs than I've been eating for almost the past year. You know, I've done fig jam, which is one of my all-time favorite things. I've done raspberry jam, I've done strawberry preserves, I've done peach preserves. I've done all kinds of stuff this year that I haven't been able to eat, and so it's all kind of been sitting there. And while David is off and on with his carbs, he's not necessarily going to come get the stuff if I'm not adding it to a meal or bringing it up and serving it to him. So you know, I feel a little bad that it's been sitting there this whole time. But what drives me a little crazier than that is that I've continued to add to it, knowing full well, I mean, it's not like I kept this secret from myself that I was keto, right? But knowing full well that I wasn't really going to be able to enjoy it for a while. So this year going forward, I really need to pay more attention to what I am eating and what I'm not eating this year. Now it can change, it does evolve, whatever, but honestly, you know, I'm back to feeling so darn good that I would prefer to stay at the very least low carb for the foreseeable future. So I will have to keep that in mind next year for sure. Okay, let's move on to the tomato shelf. I have all kinds of products on here, and I have to say I feel like I did a better job this year of getting enough crushed tomatoes on the shelf, or at least far more than I have in previous years. But there's a reason for that. You might remember that this summer I had a real freezer space issue, and I thought, you know, I just can't keep piling tomatoes I can't get to yet into the freezer. So I decided their holding pattern would be as crushed tomatoes. So I did a whole bunch of canning of crushed tomatoes, which has really filled me up here. I even have, I think, a case and a half kind of in waiting to make room. So I feel like I'm definitely set there. You know, if you've seen my cooking, I use tomatoes in practically everything. So I'm feeling really good about that. We're doing well on pasta sauce. I love that on spaghetti squash. I'm doing not so great on pizza sauce. I'm down to a couple of those. So I will probably use some of my, what I'm calling my tomatoes in waiting, to cook down and make some more pizza sauce this year sometime. Let's move on to chicken. This is my chicken shelf. Now this is all raw pack canned chicken breast. And I think my earliest one here is from 2023. We cycle through this like crazy. We eat a lot of chicken breast, even though I've kind of OD'd on it a bit this year. We continue to go through it. I did do a replacement canning session, maybe two, to keep my shelf as full as I think I need it to be. Also done some rotisserie chicken, and we are really enjoying this. This cans up so well, and I love to use this when I want something other than shredded chicken in one of my meals. So that has been terrific. I'm about to do some more of that, I think. Now let's move down to turkey. So this is just a, you know, cooked turkey breast from Costco that I cubed and canned in some turkey broth. This if you were with me, I guess in the summer, I guess it was summertime, I got a great deal on some turkeys, huge discount. So I cooked those up, canned the turkey meat. This has been great. We've had turkey dinner basically, I don't know, 3 or 4 times since I did this, and we absolutely love it. So I do a cauliflower mash with that. I thicken up the broth in here, and we have some sort of green veggie on the side, whether it's broccoli or salad or whatever. And we really enjoy being able to have more turkey. I love turkey. And, you know, for so long there, we were stuck to just having it at the holidays, which kind of seems crazy. But anyway, that's what we were doing. We have also gone through a ton of our soups. I mean, a ton of our soups. I'm down to maybe 20 jars of soup left, and David is, I'm not a huge soup eater, but David is a huge soup eater, especially in the winter. And especially now that I don't typically eat lunch because I'm just not hungry for lunch. I generally do something for breakfast and something for dinner. So I love to be able to hand him a jar of soup or open a jar of soup and pop it in the microwave, quite frankly, and that's very easy. So I do need to keep on top of my soups and make sure that I keep those in plenty of stock there. And I will also say, you might remember last year I did a bean soup video. Now, I don't eat beans at all because I don't like beans. David loves beans. But I really had no idea that he was going to go through all of those. I probably did 3 or 4 batches of the bean soups because I have to do all of the testing, right? So I did several rounds of preparing these before I did the video for you. So I probably had, I don't know, 30, 32 jars of soup at one point of the bean soup. I'm down to 3 jars now. So I'm probably going to have to make some more bean soups coming up here soon. Okay, so now we're down to a shelf that I've really been spending a lot of time focusing on this year in canning recipes. So these are my meals ready to go and almost full meals. You know, I kind of call them meal starters. So I've got the chicken verde, which we actually had some of that last night. I still love that. That's just one of my favorites. So I'm down to just a few jars left of that, which is good. We're cycling through everything. Let me see what all I've added here. Just put the Cuban picadillo and the Mexican picadillo on the shelf. If you haven't seen that video yet, these are really, really tasty and so nice to have a different flavor on the shelf. The beef ragu has been a big hit here. How can I possibly only have 3 jars left already? But I only have 3 jars left of that already, and I literally just made that, last month or something? Maybe 2 months ago. Maybe 2 months ago that I filmed the video. Let's see. I have more cottage stew left. I have street tacos. I've remade these street tacos several times now. Those are really good. We enjoy that quite a bit. This is Brunswick stew. I'm down to 4 jars again there. Probably have to make another batch of that. That's one of my favorites. If David's eating a bowl of chili, I generally want a bowl of Brunswick stew. However, I have been laying low on it lately, of course, because of the potatoes and the corn in there. But I may have to have some of that this winter. All right, let's move on to salsas. I do apologize for the lighting down here. It's terrible. I've got one over here blinding me, one over here with the cord that's going right under my feet. I'm trying not to trip and break my neck during the video. Let's talk about salsas though. Even though, we're not eating chips and salsa because of the carbs, we do have low carb tortillas that we love. I do a lot of Mexican bowls, that may be taco meat and cheese and guacamole and a bunch of salsa on them, maybe some vegetables on the side, maybe it's sitting on a pile of lettuce, maybe it's sitting on cauliflower rice. We do a lot of that, and I love that. So these flavors continue to be in heavy rotation in our diet. We are finally making our way through all this hot pepper relish that I did last year. We are down to, actually, let me get my clipboard. I was down here counting for you guys yesterday. And let me see. Okay, all right, so hot pepper relish, if you remember from last year, I didn't know what else to do with all of my hot peppers, so I just did a ton of this hot pepper relish, which I absolutely love. It is kind of a sweet heat, but it's sweetened with allulose, so not a whole lot of carbs in there. We have really been going through this. I way overdid it last year, no doubt about that. I had 54 jars, 54 jars last time we did this video, so last November. Now I have 32. So we've definitely been going through it. I feel really good about that. You know, maybe I'll need to make some more next year. I don't know. I didn't make any this year because heaven knows I have plenty. I've done a lot of other things with peppers this year, and I'll show you some of those. But I need to get creative for my hot peppers next year if I'm not going to need as much of this as I made last year. So we'll see. Hot peppers are my favorite things to grow. So I got to come up with some way to preserve them, some way to make sure they get used. So we'll talk about that throughout the year as we go. Let me see here. I did do some fruit salsas, and I'll still eat those on occasion, you know, because you eat, I don't know, what, 2 ounces, 3 ounces of pineapple salsa, and it's just, I don't know, it works for me. It's absolutely fine. Okay, we'll move down to the next shelf. I have a bunch of citrus canned. You know, it's so easy to do, so easy, and I love grapefruit. So I don't have it a whole ton when I'm keto, but I do feel good about eating it every now and then. Love to serve it to David. He loves having some fruit on the side. Cowboy candy. David has decided he's not a big fan of sweet jalapenos, which surprised me. Probably shouldn't have, but it did kind of surprise me, and these are too hot for me. So those continue to sit on the shelf, so I won't be making any more cowboy candy again this coming year. Sweet pickle relish. This is a fun one to have. There are some low-carb hot dog buns these days, and you know, get an all-beef hot dog or something, and it just kind of takes me back to being a kid. One of my dad's favorite things was to go to a ball game and have a hot dog, you know, loaded up with chili and sweet pickle relish. So I enjoy doing that every now and then. Our hot pepper rings, these are the hot banana peppers. Again, I did a ton of these last year. Let me see how many I ended last year with. 79 jars. 79. That was a lot. That was a whole lot. This year I have banana pepper 66. How can that eat? Oh, because I made 2 batches of them this summer. So I probably made an extra 20 or so over the summer. So, well, it doesn't sound like we ate a lot. I do think we ate a lot, but I surely won't need to can any more of these next year. We have been, David eats them in salads, on sandwiches, you know, on eggs. If I make one of those, you know, taco bowls, burrito bowls that I was talking about before, he loves to have the hot peppers on top of those. So we're going through them. It's just been we just had too many. I think I just have to break down it a bit that I canned too many of these last year. So now on to the beef. The beef, this is plain canned stew meat. Let me bring you down, make sure you can see this. So this is my raw pack canned stew beef. This is probably my most used item of anything I have on my shelf. If I have this and I have a jar of flavor, you know, maybe from this shelf or any of these shelves, quite frankly, over here, you know, even the peppers and vegetables and things, I can turn that into a meal in less than 10 minutes, and I know that we're going to enjoy it. So that is a huge thing. I always want to make sure I keep stocked on my shelf. I've done several rounds of replacement beef this year. So while I am down significantly from what I had last year, I probably did, my goodness, 3 or 4 rounds, and I can fit 8 of these in a canner at a time. So 30 to 40 I probably added. So that explains why I'm reduced, because we probably eat, you know, 70, 75 jars a year would be my guess. Then we go on to ground beef. I've done 1 replacement batch of this year. We don't eat the ground beef as often, but one of my favorite things to do is make a really super spicy super dry bowl. It sounds strange, but anyway, you get it really crispy, fry it up in the fat, top it with some guacamole and some salsa. It's a delicious thing. I just eat it with a spoon, basically. I don't put any rice, any cauliflower rice, any lettuce, anything under there. And that to me is just it's a delicious, quick, and simple meal that probably takes 5 minutes. So that's primarily what I use this for now. You know, I keep canned chili, so I'm not so much making chili with it anymore. If I'm going to make spaghetti sauce, we tend to be in the mode of wanting sausage in it instead of ground beef these days. So my primary use of that is the kind of the crispy, highly seasoned, I don't even know what to call it. But anyway, that is a terrific meal that I use often. All right, we'll jump down to the bottom row again. This is another row of prepared meals, or mostly prepared meals, meal starter kind of thing. And this is, you know, this Lagersham chili. If you didn't see that video, I think it was like beans or no beans kind of thing. This is David's all-time favorite chili. He's like, don't even bother with the old recipes. This one he really, really likes. He likes it both with beans and without beans. So I will be doing some more of that. I still like the Texas chili, which is made with stew beef. But he's a much more into eating chili than I am. As I mentioned earlier, I like the Brunswick stew. So taco meat, I'm down to 4 jars of taco meat now, which is certainly not enough. So I will be having to do some more of that, because even though I can certainly make tacos out of the plain canned ground beef, once you get used to how easy it is to just open the jar and put it in the pan and heat it up, and it's just done. There's no, going for seasonings. There's no taste testing. There's no nothing, because it's perfect every time. You tend to want to keep that going, right? So I still have, this is Caribbean pork. I'm down to 3 jars of that. We have enjoyed that. It does have more carbs in it than I would like it to have for my diet, but David is a big fan. So we have that reasonably often. This is the beef meal starter, which I love. To me, this is basically a good old-fashioned pot roast in a jar. And I absolutely love to serve this on something like a cauliflower mash. The beef and wine sauce, this is great. I'm down to 2 jars left on that. That is a super fancy, for a canned meal, super rich, delicious thing. So if you haven't seen that video, you may want to take a look at that video. That again is, I think that's a Lagerstrom recipe. Again, he just has some wonderful, wonderful recipes. Got spaghetti, Texas chili. This one is I really enjoy that one. And then let's get over here. Oops. Now here I have the beef Rogan Josh. This is great. We've had 3 jars of this already. And again, I just did this video. I think I filmed it, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, something like that. And I've done it, looks like maybe I did it 3 times. I have plenty of this. I think I have 13 jars left of this. But as you know, when I'm planning a recipe, I like to do it at least a couple of times on my own before I do it for you, if it's something I've not done before. And I just want to make sure that all the seasonings are right, that it sits on the shelf well, that it ages well, and that it's really worthy, because I'm going to show you my little section of meals, recipes that I have worked on that never made it to videos because I just didn't think they were good enough. All right, let's move on down. Okay, let's move down to this last rack. This is my hot sauce right here. A couple of years ago, I made a ton of hot sauces. We were going through these like mad, and then I started fermenting all my hot sauces, and David has had such a good time with the cute little fermentation bottles. I will show you that whole stash of fermented hot sauces and pepper mashes and things when we go back upstairs. I'll take you in and show you what I'm calling the fermentation refrigerator. I'll also show you what I've been doing in the freeze dryer room, because a lot of my vegetables this year went into the freeze dryer, and I'm learning how to use those from the freeze dried state. And that it's been a big learning curve, but I think it's really going to be useful. So I'm low on steak sauce. It is time to do some more steak sauce. I have 2 jars left of this. We love this steak sauce. If you haven't made the steak sauce, but you love an A1, just don't necessarily like all the things in it, or like the price of like the Primal Kitchen steak sauce or something, this is really fantastic. We use that all the time. My barbecue sauce, I told you last year I had 1 row of the old barbecue sauce I used to do that I don't like so much, and my goal was to get through this before I started on the row of the barbecue sauce that I like a lot. Well, I didn't do a very good job with that. I'm down to 3 of these left and 5 of these left, so I've been snitching the good ones. So I need to work on that. Oh, this is where we got some great new additions this year. Tikka masala. I have a lot of that again because I did 2 or 3 batches of that. And I also have enchilada sauce. I did 2 or 3 batches of that as well. So I have a good number of those. This is the peach barbecue sauce that I canned this summer when I went a little peach crazy. Anyway, it's not my favorite. It is here. I will learn how to use it. A lot of you have made some great suggestions. So I'll probably, I think my favorite one so far, or the one that feels most like our way of eating, is to have it on some pulled pork. So we'll get to the pulled pork in a minute and I'll show you that I have that covered as well. Potatoes, I did not can as many potatoes this year, although I did, I think, 4 rounds of French fries because David really, really, really likes French fries. And I'm down to 7, yeah, just 7 jars left of the French fries. So I may end up having to do more of these throughout the year just to keep him satisfied. And that's the perfect amount. If he's going to have most of those, and I may have 2 or something, that works out just perfectly for us. And it kind of limits me, which is fantastic. I have been doing a good bit of freeze drying of potatoes as well. So I did some freeze dried hash brown cubes. These are just all, I guess I did a couple of rounds of the just kind of sliced cubed, I don't know what you call them. I call them like dinner potatoes. You know, these are the ones that get a little fancier than French fries. I don't know that they actually are, but I did a couple more rounds of those as well. So this is plenty of potatoes, believe it or not, to last us the year, unless I decide to just jump wholeheartedly back into carbs, which I don't expect. Baked beans and coleslaw, we really enjoyed this over the summer. David loves ribs, so every time we did that, I'd bring out baked beans and coleslaw, and he just thought he was in heaven. Now we move down to the, this is hot Italian sausage. I've added 4 batches of this year. I got down to like 2 or 3 jars left and started canning. I just got some more sausage on sale, so I'll be doing another round, at least 1 more round before the end of the year, because coming up, I put it in all of my stuffing mix, you know, for the holidays, like to go with the turkey dinner. I also, when the kids come home, I make frittatas. I may make a big batch of spaghetti, and we just use it for all of that. So I can never have too much of this, and it's very hard to keep on the shelf because it's not my most favorite thing to can, because you have to brown it first and chop it up, and it's in the anyway. I need to just make sure that I stay on top of that, because that is a clear winner in my house. Okay, so pulled pork. This is one of our favorite things to go through. We don't eat, I don't think we eat it I know we don't eat it every week. Maybe every 2 or 3 weeks we'll have a pulled pork sandwich or taco, or, you know, just a plate of barbecue kind of thing. So this time last year, I had 24, so I've added 8 jars of it this year, and I now have 19 jars. So I didn't add as much as we went through this year, but that is all right. So far, so good. Ham. Last year, we went through a lot of ham. I love to throw bits of ham in my eggs. I like to do it if I'm doing, you know, potatoes, hash browns, whatever for David. It's great in hash. If I'm throwing in peppers and onions and potatoes, it just kind of just zips things up for me. So I love having that on hand. And we went through a lot of that. I had 58 jars on hand last year, did not can any more this year, and I still have 28 jars. So 30 jars is what we went through in a year. That seems like a lot of ham, doesn't it? But that's what we did. Okay. Let's talk about, oh, bacon. Let's talk about bacon. So I think I've added 16 jars of bacon this year. We had 11. After adding those 16, I have 18 jars of bacon. And I went for a while not using it because I was rationing, right? Because I didn't have any more in my freezer to use. Found a sale, did that. This has been really fun, the little crumbled bacon to use if we're having a big salad. You know, maybe it's a big chef salad, Cobb salad, something like that. You know, with ham and turkey and cheese and maybe some hard-boiled egg or something on it. To have the crunch of the bacon has just been great. And of course, all summer long, we ate BLTs, and that was fantastic. So this section over here, these are my jars that did not make it into videos because the recipe just wasn't there. You know, sometimes I'll find a recipe and I'll make it, and it just, nothing screams at me about it being special, particularly delicious. Nothing comes to mind of what I could do to really make it better. Sometimes I even try it twice, and it just doesn't come up to par for a recipe that I want to post for you guys, because I don't want you to waste your time, money, resources, whatever. So this was actually my first attempt at a beef ragu. It was just kind of, it was just kind of there. So fortunately, I found Chef Parisi's recipe for beef ragu, and that one is spectacular. But this one did not make it to a video. This one should have been great. This is a chipotle barbacoa, but it just, I don't know. It lacked oomph. It lacked flavor. I don't know. It wasn't great. Did not make it to a video. This is, I don't even know what this is. Oh, steak Diane. No, that was somebody else's recipe. Did not like that one at all. And birria tacos. I probably need to try this one again because I don't remember why I didn't do a version of that. But we'll see. So I do keep a shelf here. I don't just throw everything out that I make, and I don't just put out a video because you can, right? So I do try to make sure that I give you the best recipes I can, and the ones that aren't spectacular, you don't see. So my broth shelf is doing well. I am running low on my beef broth. I have some onion broth down here too, so it looks like I have more beef broth than I do. But my beef broth is starting to run low, so I do need to get some more bones and make some more beef broth. Chicken broth, I have not restocked what I just did, but I have a case of 12 quarts of chicken stock that I'm ready to add to this. I have plenty of turkey stock, so I'm ready for turkey soup, ready for turkey gravy, all that kind of good stuff this year. So other than beef broth, I'm in really good shape there. Okay, there may be more glare up here than you can really see, but I did want to just point out before we leave here that I do can food for the animals. So this is like a chicken and beef mix for them. This is ground turkey. We've been through most of these. This is ground turkey. This is Izzy's favorite. I have broth. This is just either beef broth or chicken broth. I just kind of make some whenever I can for her. This is canned chicken. So I also have in the freezer now, pre-freezing, just about ready to go in the freeze dryer, some cooked chicken tenders. I use those as cat treats. I do it about every 3 months. I get a big one of those packages from Costco and just cook them up, freeze them, put them on freeze dryer trays into the freeze dryer, and I end up with 3 or 4 of the half-gallon size containers, and that usually lasts me about 3 months. So that works out well, far cheaper than buying freeze-dried chicken treats, and they don't come in the crazy little crumbs, which is basically what you get when you order from Amazon. That was driving me crazy. So this has been a big plus. So the only parts that I can for the animals is really the protein parts. I don't stick any vegetables in there. I do have a dehydrated veggie mix that I will add into Izzy's, and then I have the broth to rehydrate that with, and that works out really well. She also gets an excellent, well-balanced kibble. I use Sundays for dogs. Not sponsored, but I love them. She loves them. She thinks it's a bowl full of treats every time. So I enjoy doing that for her. It makes me feel good about what I'm feeding her, and certainly the cats, you know, they only like the protein anyway. So they're all set. One more section I want to show you, and then we'll be moving on. So up here I have, you know, my little section for Christmas gifts. I did a lot of this over the summer during the Everybody Counts challenge. So that's a cherry sauce. I've got a peach sauce. I'm going to do probably a blueberry mango sauce. So I have a little it's going to be kind of green, quite frankly, a little green sauce, and I can have all the different colors in here. I also have one that is plain blueberry, but it's really dark, and it's, I don't know, it's not enough contrast. You know how I like my color differences. I want to just reiterate a couple of points because it particularly pertains to how I managed my pantry this year. It served me very well, but it overserved in some areas. You know, this shelf here of the jams, jellies, and chutneys, I really had no need to add to the shelf this year, yet I did because I enjoyed it. It was worth the time, it was worth the fun, but I either need to give more gifts off of this shelf, or I need to make sure that I eat some on those days that I do eat a little more carbs. So that I'll focus on. I also don't want to add to it until I feel like I really need it, because, you know, I add to it because it's fun. I need to wait until I really need it to add more to that shelf. Holding my tomatoes this way, I think, is probably going to be my new favorite. It is so nice to have all that extra room in the freezer. I can see what I have. I can move things around. I think last year I ended the season with like 30-gallon bags of tomatoes stuffed in every corner and crevice of my freezers, and that drove me nuts. They were always falling out. It was always, you know, I had to watch out for my head, I had to watch out for my toes, because by the time they get down there, they really hurt. So I think this is going to be really useful for me. So I'm really pleased about that. Meals in jars have been super big hits around here. They've made life much easier. The soups, I do need to make sure that I have plenty of soups to get us through the winter, because that is the easiest thing to hand David for lunch if I'm not going to be eating, and he loves soup. I also, as I mentioned, I probably need to make some more of the bean soups, because he really enjoyed having those, because 17 years of being married to me, he hasn't had a lot of beans. So I'll try to make him some more of those. Let me see. Peppers, I don't know if I'll be making any more pickled peppers or hot pepper relish next year. I probably will need to make some, because, you know, as I said, we went through, I don't know, what did I say, 20, 30 jars or something over the course of this year. So that should be well replenished by next year. Salsas, I know I'm going to need more salsas next year. David likes nothing better than to sit down with a big bowl of chips and a jar of salsa. This is the little wide mouth version that he can just dunk them right in. That is terrific for him. And my broth. I know I'm going to need some more broth. Oh, so let's go back to the sauces for a second. The tikka masala sauce and the enchilada sauce that I just put on the shelf this year, those have been great. I mean, it's just so easy, and now I understand really why I always kept them in my upstairs pantry. You know, I'd buy them at Sprouts or whatever, because it just makes dinner so easy. So I will be looking for some more sauces that make a meal, you know, when added to protein and, you know, whatever veggies on the side. That I really like having all that flavor combined in one super easy sauce where all the work has been done for me, and it's not going to cost me $9 a jar, right, like it does at Sprouts, because that's just, I don't know, that's just, I can't do that. That's just not sustainable. All right, so let's talk about numbers in the pantry. Now, after my son left for college, our numbers settled in about 750 jars a year for the two of us. And we were that way for several years. And then I had this kind of crazy anomaly year. You know, maybe it started in 2022. Well, I'll tell you what, now that I think about it, it lined up pretty much with the start of the channel. I started the channel in August of 2022, and so, you know, our jar consumption was picking up because I was doing things for the channel. I was testing, I was making new things, and, you know, we enjoyed all these new recipes, and it was fun, and so we were eating a lot more from the pantry. 2023 came up, and we did a pantry challenge and all this cooking from the pantry kind of stuff, and we went through almost 1,100 jars. So I thought, you know, okay, maybe that's the new norm now, right? As long as the channel is in existence, that's the new norm. Well, this year we were back down to around 750, and you know, that's a loose number. I don't keep track of things. I do monitor kind of what comes out of the dishwasher each week and kind of keep a running average of that. And we're back down to about 15. We were up to, you know, 2022 for a while there. And I think we're really settled in around 15 jars a week or so coming out of the dishwasher. And then, you know, then I have to either fill up or put up. So I think we're about 750 going forward. You know, although clearly that could change, but I think 750 is really what I'm going to plan for this coming year, which would tell you that I need to be selective about what I can, extra selective about what I can, because I do like to keep a continuous rotation of my basic things going, and I like some new and different flavors all the time. So I like all the different meals, I like some of the different sauces and things. But the areas where I really need to watch it, you know, we've already talked about it, and that's this, you know, this area, things I don't eat very often while I am watching my diet. So now this number includes, that I'm going to give you, includes all of this stuff I haven't been eating. It includes all my Christmas gifts, and I have several boxes of those. It includes all the dog and cat food as well that I've done up here. Okay, so last year I had, at this time, 1,389 jars on the shelf. And I thought that that was a really good number if we were going to be going through 1,100 jars again. So, you know, the big key there is, were they in the right places? And the previous year we'd eaten a lot of jams and jellies, but, you know, this past year we didn't, obviously. So I had 1,389 jars, thought that was good, thought that was going to be just about right for this coming year. Now I have 1,320 jars, counting, you know, counting dog food, counting all the Christmas gifts, that kind of stuff. So that's a lot more in total than we need. So the question for me this year will be to really monitor, do I have enough jars of the right things, the things we're eating all the time, like the Italian sausage. You know, I need to make sure that I keep enough going of that, and just because I have, you know, more jars than I think I need doesn't mean that I don't need to replenish things that we're using all the time. I also, if you haven't caught on to this, we like new and different flavors, like new dishes, like to change things up. So I need to make sure that I'm still doing that. You know, where I need to watch it is on things that I'm really not getting as much use of as I used to, as I still in my head think I do, right? Because it's more fun than it is for eating, and that's probably less than ideal. Okay, so let's head upstairs. I'll show you the fermentation fridge, and then we'll go up and take a look at the freeze dryer room, and I'll show you what I've been doing up there lately. That has been a lot of fun. All right, now you're in my garage. So let's take a quick peek at what is my husband's favorite refrigerator in the entire house. This is his refrigerator full of fermented hot sauces and hot pepper mashes. He loves these mashes. The first time I've done them was this year, and you can see I have a piece of parchment paper on the top of all of these to continue to keep the air off, but he just loves these. He puts them on absolutely everything. We had grilled cheese on keto bread for breakfast, and he piled a ton of this on top of it, and he thought it was just wonderful. So these go on everything for him in my house. So I have a full, I don't even know if you can see it down there. I have a very full So come down here. So I have every shelf filled on this one with pepper mashes and hot sauces. I ended up doing 29 bottles of the fermented hot sauces this year. He's been through, I don't know how many, I'd have to count, but he's been through several of those so far, and I have 2 near empty in the indoor refrigerator as well. And he's been through 2 or 3 of the pepper mashes already. So I have a whole row here, a couple here, and a couple extra in overflow here. So this has been, he just thinks that this is very cool. I also have all of my fermented pickles and garlic up here. I also, back behind the avocado mash, I have a SCOBY Hotel for my kombucha. These are just some pickled items. So I did run into an issue this summer with fermentation that I ran out of my weights and pickle pipes and that kind of stuff. So when I had produce coming in and no way to really ferment it properly, I resorted to pickling. So I still have a couple of those left. They won't last as long in my experience as the fermented ones. So we can still have these fermented pickles, particularly the whole ones in the back. Those can probably go close to a year. These I do expect will go a full year, although there's no way. there's no way that my husband is not going to eat them within that year. So we'll see how it holds up, and I may be doing a lot more of this next year if he goes through everything like he thinks he will. All right, let's talk about some of the things that I have chosen to freeze dry this year, and some of that is simply for learning. Some of that is because I have already decided throughout the year that I really love the freeze-dried product. One of my favorite things I've done this year is the sweet peppers. These are freeze-dried sweet peppers. They are so tasty. I like to eat them just like this. I don't even bother rehydrating them unless, of course, I'm using them in a recipe, and then, you know, they work pretty well. They don't come out, you know, like fresh, right? They come out like they've been frozen and then thawed. So they're significantly softer than fresh peppers, but they are delicious just like this, and they work well in a soup and a casserole and a stew, whatever, for cooking. But these have been a big favorite this year. I have also started doing a couple of other things with some of my hot peppers. I have put them into smaller bits. Let's see if you can really see that. Smaller bits that are easier to throw into dishes in sizes that won't just, you know, blow me out. And then I have more of a shakeable but still not powdered consistency on these. And I got both of these by chopping them up in the food processor first, just for different lengths of time. And I'm really liking that. I continue to do the pepper powder, and I'm enjoying that. And this is the last batch. I just haven't had time to powder yet. These were all fermented peppers that came from making fermented hot sauce. So this will be ground into a powder and just refill my jar that I use downstairs. And I use that for anything that needs a little bit of heat. So that has been a really good find for us. Also, let's see. I also just thought I would note the difference. These are mid-season peppers, you know, got all the right colors. This is end-of-season peppers when I had to pick everything green. So I don't have a great mix amongst my jars, but I still think they're all beautiful. I do prefer the sweetness of these though. Next up, I did some pico. I did a huge batch of pico, and rather than fermenting it, because all of my fermenting tools, the pickle pipes, the weights, all that kind of stuff, was occupied with pepper mashes, I just went ahead and freeze dried it. So I have not reconstituted this yet, but I'm excited to be able to reconstitute this in the middle of winter and have some fresh pico. I have shown you my tomatoes that I did. These are fantastic. Also super sweet, great crunchy fun snacks, just to use as snacks, but they work extremely well also adding to soups or meals, whatever it is that we have. So those have been great. They're great little croutons on top of salads as well. That's been really kind of fun. I Okay, up here I just have, strawberries. When I made the strawberry jam, I had some extra strawberries. So I just did those. I tried to stay on track with my herbs all summer, keeping those freeze dried. More peppers, tons and tons of peppers. I can't even tell you how many bags of peppers I have back here because I grew a lot of peppers this year. Over here, we'll go to this side. Okay, over on this side, we are far less colorful as I can see in the camera now. This is my goat's milk yogurt, so it's easy for me to add it into like a beef Rogan Josh or something like that as a mix-in with if I don't have any fresh yogurt in the refrigerator. So that is terrific. This actually, oh, look at this. When we were downstairs counting jars of ham, and I said I've been through some crazy number. I've still been through a crazy number, but I am remembering now that I took 4 of those jars. This is 4 pints of canned ham that I freeze dried and got into a single quart. And I'm thinking this will be probably more convenient for me to have in my kitchen as I throw into eggs or hashes or whatever, because then I don't have to have a half-empty bottle of ham floating around my refrigerator until it's gone. So I'm going to try that. I have not tried that yet. So this one is a recent experiment. We liked this one. It is just London broil. It's cooked about medium rare. My biggest concern was coming out with gray meat when I like a medium rare, both visually and texturally, like a medium rare steak. And so I was really concerned that everything would turn gray. Well, it turns out that I can rehydrate this. They say that you're supposed to rehydrate cooked foods with hot water. Well, if you do that with hot water, you're going to have gray meat. But I can rehydrate these just as easily with cold water, and I still have medium rare looking meat. So I would not normally heat up leftover meat anyway, because again, I don't like to change the doneness of my meat. So anyway, this was a successful experiment for us, and I've just done another big batch of this and put it, here we are. I have some Mylar bags of the London broil, so that one is a lot of fun. I mentioned doing cat treats for some cooked chicken tenders. This is my last jar from the last batch I did, and I'm actually out in the cat room, so I will have to open that one tonight. So the potatoes, you've seen those before. I just did just a regular like country hash brown dice on those. I have some sliced onions. I have some diced onions, tons of onions that I don't have to chop and end up crying on camera, so that is fantastic. These 2 were freezer clean out. Old bag of frozen peas, old bag of frozen corn. Now they're dehydrated, they're out of my freezer, and I can just use a little handful whenever I want. So that's very exciting. I also took some canned pumpkin and freeze dried that for adding to my dog's food when needed, help her tummy-wise, so that was terrific. That's cauliflower rice. So that is a good bit of cauliflower rice. I forget now how many packages of the Costco. I think it is 2 of the internal bags of cauliflower rice from Costco. So I'm hoping that this is going to be really great when I want cauliflower rice, but maybe David wants real rice or something. I could just use a smaller quantity rather than pouring some out of the freezer bag, wrapping it back up, and hoping I don't get freezer burn on it. So that's my goal with that, but I have not tried it yet. This is cucumber. When I kind of got fed up making pickles, I did go ahead and shred up some cucumber, and I have the yogurt over here so I can make a riata anytime with that. So I'm excited to be able to do that. Again, haven't tried it yet, but I think that the option to be able to do it that way completely makes sense. Up here, tons more tomatoes, London broil, stew beef, turkey, all kinds of good stuff. This has been mostly leftovers that I have tried freeze drying to sort of, well, really to figure out what works and what doesn't, and if there are any components in a meal, a particular meal, that don't necessarily rehydrate as well. So far it's been pretty good. I gotta say, you do need to set your expectations to not be as perfect as freshly made. And I know that that makes total sense. And everybody's like, well, duh, Carter. You know, it's just like having it frozen. And it is. It's just like it has been frozen. So it's a step down from fresh in where your expectations should be. But these exceeded my much lower expectations than that. I really didn't expect much in terms of meals coming out of the freeze dryer, because I have eaten plenty of MREs in my life, and it was really not what I was going for. So I was pleasantly surprised. I'll show you. I have a row up here, if I can even get the camera up there, with a lot more of those type things. I can lift the camera up there, even though I cannot lift myself up there. So you can see far better up there than I can see, but I just have a little row. So while I'm just still experimenting with the freeze dryer, I have found that it has been a great addition to my preservation tools that I have, and it has given me additional ways to enjoy items over and above what I had before. So, you know, as we talked about with the sweet bell peppers, you know, now those are snacks for me. And I will tell you, if somebody puts out a veggie platter and there are all kinds of veggies there, as much as I love bell peppers, I'm not going to take that bell pepper and knock it at a dip or just eat it straight. I just don't like them straight like that. So I do like them, you know, raw as freeze-dried snacks, and that's going to be a fantastic way for me to use them. The tomatoes as well, cubed up like this, who knew they would be croutons in my salad? So I'm just loving that. I think that's absolutely fantastic. And then the pico, I am hoping, now as I've mentioned, I haven't tried it yet, but I am hoping that this method is going to keep it much more fresh tasting than any canned salsa I have done. So I'm excited to find out about that. So the other great news is that it takes so much of the load off my freezer, and I can keep my freezer much more manageable, and that's for my, I'm going to say fresh eating. So even though it came out of the freezer, fresh eating, but when I want to grill a steak, when I want to grill, you know, chicken breasts or whatever it is, I'm really trying to keep the freezer focused on that and move as much as I can that can be kept in good form into the freeze dryer and into storage that way. So I don't know, time will tell. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so back down in the pantry for a quick wrap up. I want to thank you for being here. I hope that you enjoyed this. I love seeing what other people keep in their pantries, how much they go through, how they use different things, and I hope that you enjoyed that as well. I would love to hear how your pantry management has gone. Are you canning the right things? Do you have enough of the right things? Do you have too much of some things that you're really not loving or not using for one reason or the other? Has your diet changed? Have you kept up with the paces of what's going on in your life? You've had kids leave home, you've had kids come back. You know, all those kind of things affect what we eat, right? And so therefore it should affect what we preserve, what we keep in our pantry, what we buy at the store, whatever. And sometimes habits just, you know, old habits are hard to get rid of, right? And you just, well, I always make some jam and jelly. You know, every year when strawberries come out, I make strawberry preserves. And so this year I made strawberry preserves. Well, I haven't eaten any of them yet. So these are things I know I need to keep in mind. So hopefully my mistakes and my recognizing those mistakes now can help you manage your pantry better than I feel like I have managed mine this year. So we're going to do better next year, and I hope you're going to stay with me. If you've liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Have a great week. Bye-bye.